In 1953 was the inauguration of the 10-year crusade, the most important crusade in the history of the faith, because the object was the conquering of every country, every territory in the world.
In an unprecedented act of faith, Enoch Olinga was among those who immediately responded to the Guardian's 10-year crusade call for pioneers. Mrs. Violet Nakchivani, pioneer daughter of Mr. Banani, describes their historic journey across the continent.
Enoch offered to go to West Africa, and so Ali and I offered to take him in our car. We had him and 2 other Africans. Of these 3, 2 of them were Knights of Baha'u'llah. One opened Congo-Brazzaville. In those days it was known as French Congo. And Enoch opened the British Cameroons. Halfway up this jungle, we had problem with the car and we were stranded in a village. And Enoch, after prayers and consultation, it was decided that Enoch was the one who had to walk. And we did not see him until 36 hours later when we were able to join him. He told us what happened the first night when he had contracted dysentery and he was quite ill and feverish and very frightened and depressed. And when he went to bed, he thought to himself, what am I doing here in the middle of this frightful jungle and unfamiliar people? And if they kill me, nobody will know, and I have left my family and my home. Why am I doing it? It was a real test of his life. And he said he fell asleep with that thought, and he had a dream. He dreamt of the beloved guardian. He said he dreamt that he was fallen in mud, and Shoghi Effendi came to him and lifted him up and took him in his arms and told him, I am well pleased with you. And he said he woke up and he felt so refreshed and renewed that he said, my immediate thought was that, oh my beloved, I am ready to do this for you every day of my life. This was really the rebirth of Enoch Olinga. His real regeneration, rebirth in the faith was on this trip and on that night when he had this very, very wonderful dream. He was very ill. All of us were very ill after this when we came out. But then he was not the same Enoch. He had so much more energy and joy and hope and so on. And he was able to send his cable from Cameroon to tell Shoghi Effendi of his arrival on the last day of the Holy Year, on the 15th of October, 1953.
Knight of Baha'u'llah, Enoch Olinga honored and respected the indigenous peoples and cultures of Western Africa, devoid of any attitudes of superiority. Even though he faced tribalism and other animosities, Mr. Olinga remained firm and loyal to the cause of God, deeply affecting those he met.
When Enoch Olinga was passing through Cameroon to go to Nigeria, he passed through my village with Manu Division, and he had to stop for a night. So he stopped his car in front of my grandfather's home. My grandfather was Solomon Tanyi. And that same night, my grandfather had a dream that somebody great is in front of his home. And on getting up in the morning, he realized that there was a vehicle in front of his home and somebody sleeping inside. And so when Enoch Olinga got up, my grandfather went and greeted him, and they introduced themselves, and my grandfather invited him into his home, and Enoch Olinga introduced him the faith, and that's how he became a Baha'i.
Mr. Olinga's wife and children eventually joined him. However, the strain of being away from home became too great for her. They divorced, and she returned to Uganda, leaving the children with their father.
During the period of 1957 to 1963 was very, very important to me as a child, and the relationship between me and my father grew up here very strongly. It's this time that I learned quite a lot of prayers and took up fasting, something I'd learned by observing my father do, and we're always fascinated as children, seeing him getting up so early in the morning to prepare breakfast for his fasting, and he never stopped us from joining him. So we really liked that aspect of it. And it's also during this period that I always looked forward to going on traveling, teaching trips with him, especially over the weekends. I was certain that he will never leave me behind if he went on a teaching trip at the weekend. And I learned quite a lot, not only the Baha'i faith, but it was like an adventure which gradually instilled in me those principles of the Baha'i faith I copied from him.
It was a great experience being the son of the late Enoch Olinga. He showed us a lot of love and caring, wanted us to know about the faith and love Baha'u'llah. And I think we tried to show him what embraced the faith when he was still here.
For almost 10 years, Mr. Enoch Olinga lived in British Cameroon and was instrumental in establishing the faith there and in Nigeria and Ghana by travel teaching, deepening, and inspiring new believers to travel, teach, and pioneer. He also served as chairman of the first regional assembly of Northwest Africa.
What he accomplished, Shoghi Effendi says, has never been equal in the history of mankind. To be able to have left his home in Uganda and established the faith in many countries in West Africa and some countries in Central Africa because of his love for the faith and his great sacrifice and humility.
In 1957, Enoch Olinga was the first black African given the priceless blessing of making a pilgrimage to the Holy Land and be in the presence of Shoghi Effendi. Mr. Bonaventure Wafula recalls Mr. Olinga's meeting with the Guardian.
Hand of the cause, when he was speaking, when I was listening, I could cry, I could weep, tears could come from my eyes. And the love he had to the beloved Guardian, when he was mentioning and so forth, when he was talking about the beloved Guardian, I cannot even say in words. And the love the beloved Guardian had for Africa, and for the African people, I cannot even express how Mr. Olinga was expressing when he was being told by the beloved Guardian. He mentioned countries, almost every country and the people in those countries, all the tribes, and how important it is that these tribes receive the message of Baha'u'llah.
Hand of the Cause of God, Amatul Baha Ruhia Khanum recalls the beloved Guardian Shoghi Effendi's love and appreciation of Enoch Olinga.
Shoghi Effendi was very proud of Enoch, who was taught the Baha'i faith by Mr. Banani and Ali Naqshbandi in Africa in their home. And then he came at the Western Pilgrim House. He was having dinner with the Baha'i pilgrims from the West, and he said, I have given Mr. Olinga the title of Abu Futu, the father of victors, because he was so distinguished in his service of the Baha'i faith. He loved Enoch. Enoch was a wonderful man.